Think of the handbag that costs more than a small car, the watch that costs more than a house, or the champagne whose name alone can command a fortune. None of it is really about the leather, or the gears, or the wine at all. What is being sold, in truth, is something far stranger and far more powerful. It is desire itself. Most of the world's greatest names in luxury quietly belong to a single French group. It is called LVMH, and this is a series about the companies that run the world. LVMH represents a very particular and very seductive kind of power. It does not really sell products so much as it sells status, dreams, and belonging. It has managed, more completely than anyone before it, to turn human desire itself into one of the most profitable businesses on the entire planet. Beneath its roof sits a breathtaking collection of famous houses. Louis Vuitton and Dior, Tiffany and Bulgari, Moet and Chandon, Hennessy, and dozens more, some of them centuries old. You may own several of their products and never once realize they all share a single owner. The empire was assembled by one man. Bernard Arnault built it through relentless and often ruthless acquisition, buying up storied fashion houses one by one until he controlled the greatest of them all. It earned him a fitting nickname, the Wolf in Kashmir. The central trick is a kind of value you simply cannot manufacture. It is not the material that matters, but the century of history, craft, and myth stitched into the name. A newcomer can make an excellent handbag, but it cannot conjure 100 years of accumulated desire out of nothing. To protect that dream, LVMH practices a strange discipline. It is careful never to let supply fully satisfy demand. The waiting list, the rule that the finest goods are never discounted, the deliberately limited release, all of it is engineered. In luxury, scarcity is not a problem to be solved. Scarcity is the product. And because you are buying meaning rather than cost, the margins are extraordinary. A bag that costs a few hundred to make can sell for many thousands, and the buyer walks away feeling not cheated but fortunate. Few businesses in the world have ever enjoyed pricing power quite like this. The scale of the resulting fortune is staggering. LVMH is worth more than almost any other company in Europe, and its founder has at times stood as the single richest person on the entire planet, a fortune built, in the end, from selling the feeling of wanting. Its power rests on controlling the entire story. LVMH owns the boutiques, the advertising, the runway shows, and even slices of the media, so that it can dictate exactly how each brand is seen and make quite certain that the precious myth is never once cheapened. It does not reign entirely unchallenged. Francis Kering, owner of Gucci and Saint Laurent, and Switzerland's Richemont, home of Cartier, both contend fiercely. Together, a tiny club of conglomerates quietly owns most of the world's true luxury. But there is one house that Arnault could not take: Hermes. He quietly built up a large stake and moved to seize control, only for the founding family to unite, fight back, and beat him off in an epic corporate battle. It remains proudly independent, the one great prize the wolf could not swallow. So the moat, in the end, is almost magical in nature. You simply cannot start a 170-year-old brand. The heritage, the craft, the carefully guarded aura, and the total control of how the goods are sold together form a fortress that no amount of money can quickly build. So we reach the question this series always asks of what would break if LVMH vanished. It would be less a shortage than a cultural shock. But the vast global machinery of aspiration would stutter, and a surprising slice of France's economy and prestige would wobble as the world's great dream factory suddenly went dark. Which brings us to the uncomfortable question. We have allowed a single group to financialize desire itself, to turn centuries-old crafts into quarterly shareholder returns, and to teach the whole world to crave what most of it can never afford. Is aspiration, manufactured this deliberately and sold this hard, really something we ought to celebrate? To be fair, and it genuinely deserves saying, LVMH also preserves something real. It keeps alive ateliers and artisans and the centuries-old savoir-faire that might otherwise have quietly died out. It employs and painstakingly trains thousands of genuine craftspeople, keeping rare and beautiful skills alive in an age of the disposable. And that is the deeper lesson of this particular giant. The deepest and most defensible product of all is not a thing at all, but a feeling. Own desire, own the very wanting itself, and you possess something that no factory can copy, that no rival can undercut, and that no discount can ever erode. So the next time you catch sight of a red soled shoe, a monogram bag, or a bottle of famously expensive champagne, know that most of them belong to one quiet empire. And know that what it is truly selling you is never really the object in your hand, but the deep and studied wanting of it.